Good afternoon, morning, or evening, or wherever you are in the world. Welcome. And I have a beautiful Tressa Mitchener here, and we're going to be talking about her brand new published book. Well, brand new. She just published it recently. She is a transformational speaker. She's a life coach, and she desires to change all people's lives. So this is why she decided to write a book to actually share her amazing life story and message with you guys. And welcome, Tressa. I'm privileged to have you here.
Thank you so much, Vladdy. I'm so excited.
Congratulations on your book. And before I ask you to tell us more about your book, I love noticing that your book is not only became an international best-selling book, but it also has a Hollywood book review, and your status was an excellent merit. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yes, absolutely. So my book was entered into the Hollywood Book Review. So once they read it and they went through the process of, because it's multiple reviewers, they went through the book, they enjoyed the book, they gave me an excellent merit on the book. They also have a little published portion of what their thoughts on the book. So if you go to their website at Hollywood Book Review and look at reviews, it shows the review that they gave, and also it gives that Hollywood star with that excellent merit on it.
Oh, that's amazing. How do you feel about it? That's a really great accomplishment.
I was excited. I was thrilled when I got the email back and they told me, congratulations, your book has reached the Hollywood excellent merit. So I was just excited because I just couldn't believe it, because, it's pretty hard to get that merit. And here I am receiving that merit. So I was excited.
Oh, fantastic. Well, your book has a beautiful title. It's called Looking Out from the Inside.
Yes.
It's based on a true story. And
yes.
I'm going to ask you, I love asking authors first things, what is your intention for the book?
So my intention for the book was to help people because I came from a broken home, very rebellious teen. I had 2 children by the time I was 19 years old, a very toxic and abusive relationship, physical and emotionally abused. And I ended up trying to get out of this relationship. And trying to get out of the relationship, I actually ended up doing some things that was illegal, found myself indicted by the federal government. And then I just began to look at myself in the mirror and ask myself, how did I get here? What happened? This is not the life that I desired for myself. So once I began to look in the mirror and started reaching for the word of God, the Bible, and studying the Bible, renewing my mind, I began to create a new environment and a new atmosphere for myself. And by me creating that new environment and atmosphere for myself, I wanted everybody to experience that change that I had, where you can grow and you can be successful, you can be happy, you can find your destiny, because the power is within you to do that.
That's beautiful. You know what's beautiful? Beautiful is that you actually proved it by your journey. Because it is the choice, and we always choose. And this is something, sometimes it's really hard for us to accept and take responsibility, which you so beautifully demonstrated. And it was a really tough place. So for you to actually find yourself in there and take a responsibility for that. And, knowing these beautiful materials we study, we know how important it is to actually, we can switch it anytime. People think that sometimes it's just that I'm lost and we're blaming their circumstances. And it's really unlucky that you actually got to experience, because the programming we have from a childhood brings us to actually experience the abuse and experience and attracting it somehow, although we don't want it, but it's the resistance of not wanting it that actually attracts it. We manifest this thing, and it's not always easy to turn it around. However, you have, which is beautiful. Like, what would you say was what's the main message in the book you'd like the biggest benefit of people reading it? What were you showing them that they can do? The power you can find within, as you mentioned. How can they do that?
Yeah, so the first thing, like you said, Vladdy, is taking responsibility. Yes, we grow up as a child, and some of the things we can't prevent. But when we get to become an adult, we got to start looking at ourselves, taking responsibility for our own actions. Because just like you said, we can change those actions. We can go in a different direction. We can have a new course. And so I think the main thing I would say to take away from this is you have to do the work. So, look in the mirror, figure out where you are. What do you desire in life? Because if you desire those things in life, you definitely can reach that potential. That potential is in you to reach it. So that's the main takeaway that I say, is to examine yourself, to make that change, find out the course and the destiny and what you desire in life, and go ahead and write it down on paper, start imagining it, and start bringing it to pass in your life. But it takes you doing that work.
Absolutely.
Nobody can do it for you.
Absolutely. That is so beautiful, because we really are responsible for everything that happens to us. And often
Right.
we tend to blame what the circumstances. I'm not talking about your situation now, but I mean genuinely in what's happening in the world, and economics and stuff, and we just use that as an excuse to actually move forward. What would you say that, we always talk about like having a strong why when you're going for your dream. What was your strong why?
Well, my strong why was because I don't think anyone would want to see their life in shambles, or being in toxic situations, or creating the negative. So my strongest why was because I knew that it was positive in the world, but in that example that I wanted to see, I had to create that in Tressa so that people can see the example that I wanted to see, so I could see my own example in myself. So I had to be that change agent for myself and for the world. So I wanted to do my part. So if I could change myself and become successful and happy, so can others. So people that knew me from before and people that know me now, when they read my story, they don't even believe I'm the same person. So that shows that anyone can make that change in the world and be that positivity that we all need to see.
That's so beautiful. And the world needs more inspiring leaders.
Yes.
Where they take action, because so many people are talking, and I'm not judgmental, I'm being observing that so many people talk about things, but they actually haven't gone through that themselves, or they assume, or they've heard the story, but we can never tell the full story behind person. Like we never really know the full story of a person. What would you say were the biggest, when you went through the challenge and you decided to really change, and I don't mean the book, but I mean your real life change, what were the main points you would say people have to really take seriously in order to change?
Well, I think they have to really look at themselves, and it has to be some type of desire within you that wants that change. And my desire came from when I was looking around, because I had accumulated all of this wealth the wrong way, and I was unhappy. And I was crying out to God, asking for his help. But the help I got was not the help I expected, but it was truly help. But I had to do my part still. So looking at myself in a situation in a jail cell, and my children were out with my parents, my father, that allowed me to know that I wanted change. I did not want my children to have to suffer this or go through anything like this that I went through, because I made a mess of my situation, but it was my responsibility to make that change. And so I feel like everyone has a breaking point that they have to see in their life, that, okay, now it's time. I got to figure out how I got here and get myself out of this. And then you start understanding you got more power and potential than you ever thought. And it's within, because you have those faculties inside you. You have your imagination, you have your inner eye, you have your inner ear. And when you're feeding your spirit of those inner tools, they begin to produce the positivity that you desire, but you have to feed them. And so then you end up manifesting what you see on the inside. It comes to the outside, what you see it naturally form.
So beautifully said. It's so beautifully said. What would you say? How did your children take it? Like, are they really proud of you? And especially becoming an author as well, and being brave enough to actually share the story, because that's another part where almost we have to get over. We may feel emotions like shame or guilt and stuff, but what you really demonstrated is like it's that power within you, where you use that and you turn that point or the experience you had into something that can help others. And I think that is really the biggest courage people can do, because so many of us, and I'm not pinpointing, but I know that so many of us are hiding because we are striving approval, and we're just continuously worrying what will other people think about us. Whereas it's that power within you, which you're talking about, to actually realize how much power is within you. What inspired you to choose the looking from the out from the inside?
Well, I'm going to say this because I had a speaking event just a few weeks ago, and it just amazed me because when I was speaking to the women, because I am a transformational speaker. When I was speaking to the women, when I was asking them and telling them how I thought, I was asking, what's wrong with me? I did not realize that almost every woman in the crowd basically agreed with me, and they had that same question. So I wanted to pinpoint, it's nothing wrong with you. You're just different. It's only one of you, and you have a creative purpose that you have to fulfill. No one else can fulfill it. So it's nothing wrong with you. I just want to tell everybody, it's nothing wrong with you. Just seek out your creative purpose, and then you will start feeling fulfilled because you're doing what you're supposed to do here on earth. So I think that was the best thing that I can think of to tell everybody. Don't sit around wondering what's wrong with me. It's absolutely nothing wrong with you.
That is so beautiful. That really is so beautiful, and it is really powerful because each of us at some point asked this question.
Yes.
And we're
Yes.
giving away our power. You know, I'm
Yes.
continuously talking about like when you watch what's happening and people are so happily giving away, not happily, subconsciously giving away the power by thinking the other people are better than me.
Yes.
They can do it, but I can't. Who am I
Right.
to fulfill these shoes? Because you know, it's just like, oh, her situation is different, or his situation, maybe for
Yeah.
someone else. It's that finding that power and how inspirational you become, because you became a ripple effect for these people who really
Right.
relate to your story, and your
Right.
story is so powerful. You know, what would you say, like when you're coaching, because you are a transformational speaker and you are a coach, what benefit can people find when they find you and actually use your coaching? What would you say is the biggest benefit for them apart from the change? But how, yeah.
The biggest benefit is dispelling the limiting beliefs. Just like I said, asking what's wrong with me, what am I here for? Just getting beyond those thoughts that you can't succeed because of your past. Because that's why at first, like you said, I used to be ashamed about my past. But when I realized how motivating and encouraging it was and inspirational to people to make that change when they understand what I've been through, and they see the change in me, and they don't believe that I went through all of that. I want the world to know now, because I want everyone to know that they can do the same thing. So through my coaching program, I pretty much help them to change those limiting beliefs that they can't succeed, and help them to get the success by the renewing of the mind and actually working with these inner faculties that I was speaking about before.
Mm-hmm. It's so beautiful. You know, I can just confirm to all of the listeners that we've watched Tressa in our programs, and
Yeah.
she's taken action. She's signed up for programs there where she's creating her own wealth and getting some
Yeah.
guidance, always asking really great questions,
Mm.
because that just shows the commitment and willingness
Right.
to grow and become greater, because
Right.
everyone can become greater. And you know, would you say it was there part of the story which you found actually hard to share or challenging at some point?
Yes, the part that was really, really hard to share was when I was a child and my mom's boyfriend tried to molest me. I think that was so hard, and I actually, because you're constantly going through levels of healing through the process, but you have to walk back through those doors in order to get healed. And one of the biggest healings that I think I had, which was about 2 years ago, is when I was speaking on a Zoom conference with women that was asking me about my story. We had a Q&A session, and so I gave them an opportunity to ask me questions. And when they asked me the question, what would I say to the younger Tressa now? I was stuck because I really didn't know what I would say to her. But it just so happened my brother was on the call as well. And my brother called me after the call was over, and he told me she did nothing wrong. And I said, What do you mean? He said, the question that the lady asked you, you should have said she did nothing wrong. And right then I began to cry, because even as an adult, no one ever told me I did nothing wrong. So I realized I was holding it in myself, not realizing that I did nothing wrong. So I want to tell every listener, if you've been through anything like that, you did nothing wrong because you was a child. You didn't do anything to receive that, or it shouldn't have happened. So that was the biggest healing and breakthrough for me, because I never knew I did nothing wrong. No one never told me that.
You know, that is the most powerful statement you've made, because we as a human, and that puts us back at the beginning when we were talking about the emotional impact, and especially the
Yes.
frequency of guilt. and judgment. And the guilt is one of the worst frequencies we can ever be on. And subconsciously we feel guilty because of what you just said, that kind of brings you into, well, I wish maybe we almost feel like we wanted to protect a parent or someone in a story. And it's not always the thing, because the most important statement you just made, it really is. There's nothing wrong. And if we could go back to our inner child. And, we often talk about, I was actually interviewing Doug Dane, if you know, I don't know if you know, aware of him, but he was talking about child abuse. And he actually pointed this out, like how we're judgmental. And people are afraid because we as a humanity suffer from being judgmental. We just judge, not knowing somebody else's story. And, people are not guilty just because they find themselves in a situation where sometimes it's just like you found out, you actually wake up and you say, well, why am I here? And you look into all the things they got you there and you took action, because not always we get there willingly, because we just don't have an awareness and understanding.
Right.
So we're doing something which is not necessarily right, but we just get there and we're not aware of why we got there.
Yeah, and that's a good statement, like you just said. Being aware. Once I started becoming aware of who I really was on the inside and the success I really had, it's because it's already there. And becoming aware just makes you have that confidence where it's like you can walk through anything now because you're aware of who you really are, what you truly have. You don't really have to deal with all these issues that you create yourself, because you're aware of who you really are, and you're aware of the love and the greatness and the beauty that you have. So you're confident in who you are in your own skin. So you can walk like with so much confidence now that is amazing.
I can feel it through you. It's like Tressa found the new version of her and stepping to the success she's always deserved.
Yes.
Sometimes just don't feel that it's us who were born for, but every single person was born for success. And that's what sometimes is amazing. Not sometimes, it's always amazing to have people like you sharing stories and helping others, people going through the challenges, because challenges are just opportunities to grow. If everything goes smoothly, we're actually never growing in a way.
That's right.
Because it's through the experience that we become stronger.
That's right.
When you were now talking about the awareness, it kind of reminded me of children playing, the superpowers, when they put the superhero costume. It's almost like adults having an awareness. You have that superhero costume and go, I can do anything.
That's right. That's right.
What would you say your children, are they really proud of you and how much success you created now?
Yes, they both were very, very proud. They saw the change even when when I was in prison. Even my mom, she saw the change. She just asked me one time crying. She said, "I know you're my daughter, but you've changed and you did it so quickly. How did you do that?" But just like I said, it takes just you individually doing the work and putting yourself in control and doing what you need to do to create the greatness that's within you. And I just took control of my life, and just like you said, I became aware of who I really was, renewed my mind. When I read different scriptures, I applied the scriptures, because application is very, very important. You just can't read it and think things are going to change. You actually really have to apply it. And when you start applying these scriptures and things to your life just becomes beautiful, and you see the outcome of what it say you will have by the application.
You just hit the nail on the head. It's application.
Yes.
It's implementation. So many people say, "Oh, I know all these, and I study all these, and I follow all these, but are you actually applying it?" That is the key to change, which you are a real manifestation to the whole principle, really, the mindset principle. Watching you and your journey and how amazingly you're doing, and you're doing it really fast. Because even from the point you started with us, I can see that you are just skyrocketing. Have you started to write the book while you were in a prison, or when did the thought of actually sharing this story occur?
So I was home when I actually started writing the book. It just inspiration came over me that I had to tell this story. And the only reason that it's like the inspiration came over me that I had to tell this story is because I saw so many people hurting. And so that's why I had to do it.
That's amazing. So you got inspired to really help people, because you know what? There is not a story in the world told that somebody else hasn't experienced. I stole that line from Oprah Winfrey. I've heard her saying it once, and I fell in love with that sentence, because it's true. Every story that is told has somebody has experienced it, and there are so many of us that relate. No, it doesn't have to be the whole story. It can be part of the story. It can be part of the journey. I mean, I hear a lot of people saying they went through abuse and they never talked about it. And that gives also a power to people. It's okay to speak up. It's okay to talk to people who went through it, and just share the story. It kind of helps us release it as well. You know, what would you say? Well, I'm going to actually ask this, because you have another book on mind, right? You're talking about siblings. Could you give us a peek of what that's going to be?
Yes, and you led us right into that. It's about siblings, because you have a lot of siblings who don't get along, and some do get along. But I have a brother. We get along very, very well. We're very, very close, and always have been close. But we tend to find, like you was just basically saying a few minutes ago, people have to speak up. And I think conversation is very, very good. And me and my brother has always had great conversation. But sometimes in different cultures, you're told as a child what goes on in the house stays in the house. But that's how you end up trapped, because you need to conversate about these things. You need to speak about these things, because everything that goes on in some households are not right, and they should not stay in the house, because some of the abuse, the neglect, and the different things that go on. If you keep those things inner focused, you will never get out of bondage. So, and it holds the children growing into young adults and teenagers in bondage, and that's not what we want. So I want to dispel that limiting belief that what stays in the house, what goes on in the house stays in the house, because we don't want people in bondage.
I love that, because that's very true. It's people sometimes feel like, oh, what would other people, and we need to look like a great family, and actually there's so much hurt and pain and abuse, as you said, and it doesn't have to be physical abuse. It can be mental abuse, which can be even worse. But it gives people that almost like a permission to speak up. They see that other people do that as well. And it was in the old days that the belief was really kind of created, thinking, oh, it's the wrong thing to talk about that.
Right. So and we want to talk about these things.
Yeah.
And we want to talk about these things. And that's why the new book is coming, because we want to talk about these things. Let children or young adults that's been a child know that, okay, it's time. I need to talk about this. I need to get out of bondage. I need to do my work. So we need to talk about these things. And it's okay if these things went on in your household, because you're thinking your household is functional, but it's totally dysfunctional once you start doing the work on yourself. You realize how dysfunctional your situation was.
That's a really great point you made, because sometimes not knowing anything else, you can't, children especially, they can't even tell that there is something wrong, because that is normal in that family, isn't it? So understanding and having an awareness what really is a great happiness, and what's right and what's not really good or great thing, and it's not really right thing to do in a family, that children are more encouraged to speak up. So yeah, it's definitely a great way. Any final thoughts you would give us, or any tips or anything apart from, I will point out that all the links where you can contact Tressa and see her book, coaching, or reach out to her, everything will be put under the link. So you please feel free to ask her any questions. I'm sure she's going to be super happy to help you, because that's how she shows up in the world, as a beautiful, helping person with a big heart and sharing this amazing experience. But any final comments?
Just when you go to my website at www.tressamitchener.com, subscribe, so you can keep up with what's going on. Also, you can see my videos that I've done, my other interviews I've done as well. And I just want to leave with people to make sure that they know that it's no time frame or no limit to you changing your course. You can change it whenever you desire. And I did not start changing my course when I got home. I started changing my course when I found myself in a jail.
That's amazing. And it really is amazing that how you turn it all around. and just who you are now. It's the most important thing, because if we don't take a chance on ourselves and make that change at any point, like you said, we get one chance to have this amazing life.
That's right.
So it's better to actually come to the end of it and know that, don't regret all the things you didn't do, but be proud of the ones you did.
That's right. And Vlad, I want to leave one more thing with them, because I didn't tell them this interesting fact so they'll know how far I've came. So I started out with a 30-year to life sentence that they wanted to give me. Because of my change and because of my renewed mind and because of my vibrations that changed and everything, that sentence ended up being 5 years, and I was immediate release from a prison.
That's amazing. That just shows that you actually followed everything and changed completely.
Application.
It's so beautiful. Yep. Application, implementation.
Yes.
You know, I'm very proud of you. I'm
Thank you.
Honored to interview you, because it's such a powerful message, and I really encourage anyone to reach out to Tressa. You know, like if you feel like you can't talk to anyone else, you definitely can talk to her.
Yeah, that's right.
So that is someone who deeply understands.
Yes.
Abuse and relationship and actually wrong choices and decisions. It's the decisions we make that put us where we are. So it's so important to actually understand who you are and how you can change the course. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. And I will be around and encourage everyone to connect with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vladdy.
Bye, beautiful.
All right. Have a good day.